Hello, one person. Thanks for being early. I am going to take a while to get settled because I'm still reading through some texts, but I will be with you shortly. We will be cooking beef kidneys today. Just reading a text from a friend dissecting death drive in case you are into psychoanalytic theory and how it intersects with capitalism. And he says ultimately what we need is an economic system that takes into account this danger of death drive, some mechanism that moderates it in all of us. It's easy to use capitalists as scapegoats because money is considered dirty, especially in the Christian world, but the death drive is in everyone. In academia, for instance, it's cultural capital they excessively accumulate by any means necessary. I don't think we can create an economic system that takes into account this danger of death drive, because that would assume that we are godlike enough to be able to control our own death drive, which I think is ultimately out of our control, unless we achieve some sort of societal enlightenment where we're like, oh, we are actually all controlled by death drive. Let's figure out how to not let this ruin all of us. But I think it's called the death drive because it's the death drive. It's in all of us upon birth. The only way to get rid of death drive is to not have life. Because as soon as you give things life, you give things death. All right, I will commence cooking. We're going to be prepping some beef kidneys. I'm going to be chopping it up, putting it into the Instant Pot. I'm going to be adding the greens that I got last time that I really liked. And I will tell you everything that happened yesterday. Grandma is hospitalized. And oh boy, was it an adventure for all of us involved. You guys all up on chat and we shall commence. Happy Sunday. I hope you all are doing good. Oh my gosh, your notifications worked. Huzzah. Once in a blue moon it happens. You know, Cherry, I don't know if Grandma loses her place, but I am not going to take her home, period. Like, in no circumstance will I allow that to happen, because that's what happened with my mom. She was debating on whether or not Grandma stays in a long-term care facility or if she should take her home, and I said, definitely keep her in the care facility, but it's your life, and I really should have convinced her to not, because we know how that turned out. Basically, Grandma started choking on the food that I brought her yesterday, and when she started swallowing milk and water, it hurt her a lot, and then she was coughing up blood mixed into her phlegm, which indicated a lung infection. So they had to take her to the ER, and they did some x-rays on her, and she definitely has a lung infection. I don't think it's developed into pneumonia yet, so they got her on a 4-day regimen of antibiotics. As far as I know, she is still awaiting a permanent bed, so she's like in the division right outside of the ER. Yeah, she basically is so delusional because of dementia and maybe Alzheimer's, I don't really know anymore, that she freaked out in different waves. She came up with different stories about how her son is the emperor and she must go back to her palace and they should send people to pick her up. And she started getting really agitated after a couple of hours there in the ER, which I don't know if you saw my live the last time we were in the ER after she fell and ripped open her arm, that it was not a good time. And this was an even worse time, because this time not only did she throw water on the floor and shout at everybody until I cried, this time she started assaulting the nurses, verbally and physically. She said your mom's C word, which I had never heard her utter before. She spat on the nurses as they tried to mask her up to prevent her from spitting even more. And she was grabbing them by their scrubs and she was trying to throw punches and she landed a few of them and I heard the impact. And for a 96-year-old who is having a lung infection, she is a powerhouse. I truly don't think she's ever gonna die, honestly, but she makes it very apparent when she's discomforted, and it is impossible to ignore her. So, you know, we'll just have to go through these cycles of treatment until she dies. But yeah, I don't really, it's not gonna get better from here, right? It's just gonna become more frequent, more of the same. It's gonna get more tiring as she struggles against death because she's really not ready to let go. And she will make it all of our problem whenever she feels sick. So, beef kidney. I bought it from the farmer's market a couple of weeks ago. I am feeling extremely weak this week, just physically. So I think it's time to put that into our body. And my friend Nez actually recommended that I get on this iron supplement. So I'm going to try that. You're supposed to take it 30 minutes before meals. You're not supposed to exceed 10 millimeters twice daily, but she says she just does 10, which I think is right here. And reviews also say to avoid your teeth because they can do a lot of staining to the teeth. So let's give this a try. At this point, I'm probably also struggling physically, but won't matter. More of the same. Okay, I don't know about using this cap. I might just see if I can use my little direct scale to measure out 10 milliliters. That was 11 milliliters, but here's what it looks like. Delicious. And I guess I'm gonna try to gulp this as fast as possible so it doesn't hit my teeth. Cheers, y'all. Tastes pretty good. It's an iron supplement that is suspended in a concentration of pear juice, water, grape juice, black currant juice, honey, orange juice, blackberry juice, cherry juice, red beet juice, and ascorbic acid. I mean, I can take one of Grandma's punches, but I honestly think she is capable of bruising me. She got very manipulative and verbally aggressive yesterday, even at me. She was telling me things like, "You're my granddaughter, and you sent me here to be experimented on. How could you do this to me? How could you leave me? I'm going to commit suicide if you leave without me." And when she threw the suicide card down, I was just like, that's it, I'm out. Because she's been throwing the suicide card for years. She's thrown it at my mom. She's thrown it at my uncle when she was in Beijing. And when she said that, it just like flipped a switch in me, because honestly, I still harbor so many different feelings towards her, one of which is hate. I hate her for the pressure that I knew that she put on my mom right before my mom died. And anytime I see her engage in the activities that I know she pulled with my mom, that's where I draw the line. That's where I just walk away. Like, I can't stay for that. I will not allow myself to stay for that. I know that my mom and none of my relatives want me to stay for that. So, it's rough. I don't like being the bad guy, but sometimes you have to be. Because being a good guy with Grandma doesn't really get me anywhere either. Some of the things that she asks for is impossible to satisfy, and she will keep pushing you until you give it to her. But when her ask is take her to the Grand Palace in New York City, where they have a restaurant that my uncle, who's actually in Beijing, is already at, I can't do that. All of which to say, yes, I do feel entirely crazy right now. I haven't exercised for a week, but I feel my body feels completely hungover right now, because I just think that like sitting in a hospital for 7 to 9 hours, just waiting and dealing with all of that is exhausting. Ooh, there's a slug. Do you want to be on a leaf, Sluggy? Have a leaf. I guess that's the perk of buying your greens from the farmer's market, is that there will be slugs. And you know what? Honest to God, the nurses have so much more patience and endurance than I do, and it's really best if I just stay out of their hair while she goes through this, because yesterday I tried to give Grandma a heads up before I left, and that just set her off into a whole other round of meltdown, and the nurse was like so exasperated that she kind of had to calm my grandmother down again. I called the ER today and I was like asking for updates and asking if she was well behaved. And they were like, you know, she's just there talking to herself, sometimes yelling at nurses. But that's just how it is. There is no getting her to not act out, because that's just the stage of life that we're at. So I think my mom really tried her hardest to get Grandma to stop being Grandma, and that's just trying to fight fate in a lot of ways. Grandma's also had a lot of psychological issues, it sounds like, since her time in China, which is not surprising given all that she's lived through. But keeping that in mind, I can't expect Grandma to be logical or reasonable anymore, and so I cannot let myself feel the weight of guilt of not being able to comfort her at all times, because there truly is no comfort that can be had for someone at this stage of mental deterioration. For the most part, I can do what I can, and then most of the time I can't do anything. So I've submitted to that. How's everyone else's weeks and weekends going? Yeah, nurses, I don't know how you guys do it. Like, this job is so fucking intense, and I can't. I know I can't do this job. So, thank you for doing what a lot of us, probably most of us, can't do. It's rough. Dying is rough. A slow death is rough. Not wanting to die when your body is going is tough. Just, there's no easy thing in any of this. And I've been thinking about how this affects my outlook on life. Like, I asked one of the ER nurses yesterday, I was like, how does working in the medical field change your perspective on life and death? And he was just like, it tells me to be more present, you know, because like, so many things happen so quickly. All you have is the current moment, and so you just have to live for the now. And I think about how, you know, going through grieving for my mom dying and going through taking care of my grandma has changed me, and what that means in terms of like the sides of me that come out when I'm in more intimate settings, like with friends or with romantic partners. And I've kind of come to the conclusion that at this stage, I might not be able to successfully date anyone who has not dealt with elder care to this extent. I truly feel like they just won't be able to understand why I am this way, and they'll just keep thinking that I'm like fucked up. Which I am kind of fucked up, but there's more to it than just being fucked up, I think. There's a certain degree of truth that comes out through these types of experiences that I think most people would rather not acknowledge. The same kind of impulse that makes us want to reject reality and procrastinate on things. I think some people are just not ready to know that this is probably what happens to all of us at a certain point. And I'm coming across, you know, I'm turning 35 this year. Like, a lot of my friends are going through shit with their parents aging and their grandparents dying. So, you know, sooner or later, people will find out for themselves. And maybe they'll have more understanding. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe some people will just never understand. Ooh, fun, dumpster diving. I'm very jealous. I have always wanted to go dumpster diving. Anything good in the dumps? Yes, I agree, Karen. Thank you to all the good nurses. They are so very, very precious. I am so thankful that I got so lucky with just being able to go through so many caring individuals in the medical industry. It's such a hard industry to work in America, but the folks, they are doing the work, despite the system being a piece of shit. Scared and depressed about the Supreme Court decision. Yep, welcome. Welcome to one step further in dictatorship. You know, one of the things that my mom used to say all the time about what was good with America was the whole, you know, 3 divisions, branches of government, being able to check and balance each other. Well, Mom, I'm really glad you're not here to see that not be true anymore. Just imagining my poor mom's state of mind seeing all this shit go down. Oh. But yeah, I think people who have gone through elder care like this will have more compassion for my mentality in its current state. I'm, not saying I'm going to be this way forever, but I do feel like inevitably this will change forever the way I look at life. And I don't think necessarily that's a bad thing at all, but it will make finding intimate partners more difficult because of just how weighty this all is to deal with. And I totally understand it. Not everybody wants to face this shit. I actually saw a movie that I didn't finish, but I finally finished it because my friend Daisuke told me to. I think it's called Miss White Light. And it's about a woman who works as a, I guess, death doula in a way. But she's like very rude and abrupt and just like blunt, like I am. And my friend Daisuke wanted me to watch it because he was just like, this character feels very autistic. And I was like, well, if that's what is autistic to you, then I definitely feel like I'm very autistic in that way too. Just the way she says things, she doesn't spare feelings sometimes. She just says things very matter-of-factly, which obviously is uncomfortable and causes a lot of issues in the context of relationships. So, what I decided to do, there's a lot of ways I can flavor this beef kidney, and no, I've never cooked kidney before, so I have no idea what's going on, but I do have this mole from LA that has been sitting here since before Mom died, and I think today is the day to use it. So let's use it. People with dementia definitely don't know what's happening to them. Yesterday, when I started breaking down in the ER, one of the nurses who got spat on by Grandma was so understanding, and she was just like, it's not your fault. It's not her fault either. It's just, it's just how it goes. And so I get angry at Grandma, but I also don't blame her. Outside of the heated moment, I don't blame her at all. I feel sorry that this is the situation. I feel sad for her. I feel sad for me. I feel just sad for everyone all around. It's just not a good situation. But there's no villain here besides nature. Nature is a psycho. So in a way, psychopathy is quite natural. I don't know why we villainize it so much. Because it makes us uncomfortable and makes us feel in danger. Well, the whole point of life is to die, right? Ultimately, we are a part of a cycle. So if you want to blame anyone, blame nature. Which is why I think the most civilized thing to do is to not give birth. But that's just my hot take, of course. I'm not saying civilization is better or worse than nature. I'm just saying it's an alternate path. If you find death scary, then why would you pass that on to somebody else? That's all. My grandma definitely doesn't remember her outbursts. She will say things like, don't lie to me, I never did that, whenever I bring things up, which could be just a straight up denial, but I think you're right. My dad was actually, I was just on the phone with my dad talking about a lot of this. My dad was like, when his mom was dying, she said a lot of things that after she made it past her, like, really sick stage, she totally didn't remember saying any of it. She just, retracted all of it. She was like, I would never say that. And it wasn't even bad things. It was, good things. It was like, well, when I die, I want you guys to move on and find your happiness without me. That sort of thing. What's Project 2025? Do I want to know? I'm scared. I'm really sorry that you had a resident spit in your face. Grandma kept spitting too. She was like the worst behaved llama I've ever seen. Super aggressive, spitting at people while tearing at them. Oh my god, and she has nails too. They had to like tape her nails because she was just like really digging into them. Okay, Elizabeth, you're feeling the societal pressure to have kids, but feeling a moral obligation not to. But what do you want? Because none of the shit really matters in the grand scheme of things. As I opened up the live, speaking on my friend talking about death drive, like we literally don't have control over most of the life cycle that we experience. Think about the fact that we never had a choice in being alive in the first place, right? So like, I've reached the stage of my life after witnessing genocide go down and still go down, where I'm just like, oh, we do what we can, we do what we feel is right, we do what we feel compelled to do, we do what we feel is true to us, and then we die. And that's it. And each of us get to choose what feels right and what feels like it's in alignment, but that's it. Like, you just do what aligns with you. That's the hardest part, is trying to determine what you want and who you are outside of all the dictations you've been handed. So I don't know. I don't think moral obligation or societal pressure really matters at this point. I also froze this glass jar of chicken stock so full that I cracked the bottom. So PSA to folks who freeze stock, leave some space. I'm not sure, maybe I should sip this, just in case we have some glass, but I do still want to use most of it. Okay, nobody thinks I want to know what Project 2025 is. Great. Sounds wonderful. Alright, well you guys are going to have to tell me. I'm sorry. I need to know what Project 2025 is now. I don't know why I just did that, because I did that to catch the glass and then I just dumped it upside down. But hopefully there was no glass. I don't think there was. Alright. I would just recommend that you not worry about anything that isn't right in front of you right now, taking into account the ER nurse's words about living presently. That's a guy who's seen death day in and day out, and decline day in and day out, and recovery day in and day out. And I trust him. I'm in alignment. If you watched me a year or two ago, I don't know, a lot has happened, huh? What's up? Genocide? Realization of how awful the world is? And trying to understand how people can still disagree with me on that point? And understanding that some people just would rather live their life in their small circles and go on until they die, and also realizing slowly that that is not the kind of life that I am capable of living. Maybe there's a part of me that wants to, but I don't think I'm capable of it. So that also means I don't want to. Who knows? The chicken and the egg. What our mind and heart wants and what we are able to actually do. We sort of just convince ourselves of things, even when we don't think we're convincing ourselves of things, you know? Like when people want to be healthy and they convince themselves that they don't like bacon or butter, which is something that I did for years, they're lying until they're not. Because you can actually make yourself believe in something that you didn't believe in the first place. Just through pure conviction and consistency. So we just all choose different. It's really hard, guys. I don't know, man. This life. Did you ever think we were gonna be at this state? Like, just overall? Every day, I still feel like a sense of shock at where we are. But it's also so exhausting. So I'm like, okay, I'm not shocked, but I am shocked. Like, how did this happen? Fascism. Wonderful. So do we have a plan, y'all? Now that we are well aware of the direction that we have always been headed in, do we have a plan? Can we plan a little bit? Instead of just saying, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, this can't be happening. I think we should plan. I think it's time to do something. This is when we make decisions of how much agency we want to allow ourselves to have in our lifetime. It's true. The more you point out the inconsistency of life, the more you suffer. However, some people like suffering, and some people know how to navigate suffering. And so once they've kind of become more expert and well-versed in the art of suffering, because let's be honest, all of life is kind of suffering. It's just a matter of whether or not you gave yourself the practice of knowing how to work your way through the suffering. We all suffer in various ways. You can be in denial about suffering, but some of us have less resources to be in denial with. So it's all a matter of the luck of the draw. I don't really blame people anymore for their choices. Like, obviously, I'm not going to be okay being friends with a person who is a Zionist and actively supports genocide, but I also feel the same sort of feeling that I do towards grandma. Look at this kidney. Where I'm just like, they might not be able to choose otherwise. Like, who am I to say that we are choosing all of our beliefs and values and actions consciously? Like, what if we were just all kind of predestined to be this way? And nature by default assigns some of us to be more villainous than others, according to our society's dictations of values, right? What if nature programmed us to kill each other? What if? I'm not excusing genocide, but I'm just saying, what if? But like, even if Kamala has a chance of defeating Trump, then what? What does that mean? I was telling Aaron yesterday, I was like, I think I have a moral obligation to vote for Trump. And he was like, why? Now, before you get angry at me, let's just consider this as a thinking exercise. Are there moral arguments for voting for Trump in a country where we are fully reliant on a two-party system and the other option is Joe Biden? And I'm also not saying that voting matters, really, at this point in the grand scheme of things. Like, it's still two-party. Like, whatever. You know? Neither one of them are... We have Joe Biden as president, and the Supreme Court still ruled what it just ruled. Probably should have rinsed the other kidneys first. Oops. Wow, no one's coming through on chat anymore. I lost everyone. They're just like, she said, what? Get out of here. Oops. Sorry, Karen. I just removed you as a moderator because I was trying to click something else. Let me wash my hands and do this properly and remod you. Didn't mean to do that. My bad. I think my chat is frozen on my computer screen. Give me a sec. Let me get my shit together. Well, it's okay if you're not American. I'm actually very curious about everyone's thoughts. I think it's especially enlightening. Thank you for understanding what Hans syndrome. I think it's especially enlightening to have international folks who have a slightly different perspective to weigh in. All right, your comments. Between Trump and Joe, I will take Joe. I have seen what Trump did and heard what he plans to do. Joe has the opportunity to do some absolute immigrant shit. Oh my god. Did I just remove someone else? I'm so sorry. Let me know if I removed you. My white hand syndrome is not doing great today. Joe has the opportunity to do some absolute immunity shit that would be so fun. Huh. But we all have to vote out our conscience. Two sides of the same coin, difference between stoking a fire and pouring gasoline. Two parties, one government. Yeah, we're screwed with the Supreme Court for basically the rest of our lives, but I still see value in having some sliver of checks and balances, as flawed as they are. Honestly, whether it's Trump or Biden, I've accepted I'm just going to focus on myself for the next 4 years. What does that even mean? What does focusing on yourself mean at this point? I'm from South Africa where the politics has been crazy since forever, but not going to lie, Joe would be my vote. Okay. All right. Karen, did you just say Joe Biden is a decent human being? Oh boy. Oh boy. Well, here's an inside look at kidneys. That's fun. structures of organs. But think about all the comedy we could get out of Trump while he's killing people. Like, none of us have been laughing while we killed all the people in Palestine recently, right? But just think about all the comedic relief that Trump could provide us with while he kills all of us. Don't you want to die laughing? You want to die crying? Like, I want to die laughing. Here's a beef kidney, just globules, chunks, sections. So I've been feeling really weak, which is why I've been eating organs, and I used to have kidney issues, which give me the same kind of lethargy that I've been experiencing lately, which when I saw beef kidneys at the farmer's market, I was like, maybe that's a good thing to add to my diet. So we'll see. I don't think it's going to cure me of any of our societal ailings, but hopefully. At least it's fun to look at. So interesting. It's like chunks of fat in there too. Never thought there would be fat inside the kidneys. Everybody's saying we need to build community, but guess what? Every time I bring up Palestine, like, the people who know, but if I bring it up in a dating context, it's a total mood killer. And just based off of that response, I know that most of us are not ready to quote-unquote build community. And I'm not blaming any of us. I think that's just the world our society has progressed. We have progressed in the direction of alienation because that is the kind of structure that capitalism thrives off of, and we have been working off of the system of capitalism. And I know that I shit on capitalism all the time, but I also recognize that, like, this is where we got after trying different systems, you know? Like, even if we quote-unquote burn shit down and started from the beginning, who's to say we won't land somewhere equally as bad, or even worse? There's just no telling. Yeah, and Joe can't form a sentence anymore. At least Trump, even though he's spewing lies, which Biden was too, but, like, at least Trump made full sentences that sounded coherent. His pacing is convincing. Joe is on a struggle boat, and that boat is sinking. And I haven't been really keeping up with the news of what the DNC is progressing towards, but, like, if they choose to still uphold Joe Biden as a candidate, I mean, they are just asking to lose, right? Trump wants another debate. No wonder. He for sure outperformed Biden. I mean, they both cheat, right? Like, they both have serious health issues that they're not releasing to the public. But it's just like, Biden really can't hide his health issues the way that Trump can. Like, we can all see it, and we've all been seeing it. So he's just not being very smart about hiding it. At the end of the day, the only way to look at the presidential election in the US for me is it's a sporting event. That's it. It's just entertainment at this point. It doesn't really seem to matter. For me, I'll just speak for me, but I have a hard time believing, like, I don't know, man. I don't know, man. I have friends who are convincing me that, like, Biden is the only way to go because if Trump wins, what's going to happen to LGBTQ rights? And I'm like, okay, yes, but, like, you're hiring someone for round 2 of genocide. And if they can do that abroad, they are definitely doing it domestically. You're just not part of the group that's seeing it yet. But where are all the homeless people that Eric Adams took care of? Like, where did they go? It's really terrifying to think about it if I think about it. We don't have the infrastructure of that many shelters in place for that noticeable of a decrease in the homeless population in New York City. Where did they go? I'm not homeless, and I'm very fucking lucky to not be. But if I were, I don't know where I went, you know? And that's scary. So yeah, this is just the sporting events for me now. There is no real meaning for our safety. We pay our taxes if we choose to, and we see them do awful shit with it, because they will, and that's gonna be the way it is until enough of us figure out an alternative. And right now, most of us are incentivized to be carried forward on the inertia of everything we've been doing. And everything that we've been doing feeds into capitalism. I am not really truly hopeless anymore because I am not in despair anymore. I have just resigned to the fact that we will all die anyway, and this is simply one way that we are dying in. It is not great. I am so fucking glad I don't have children, but I'm also not completely destroyed at the idea that we're fucked. Because I don't have children, I don't have to worry about it. And maybe that's a simplistic way to look at it, but I don't have to worry about it. We're gonna add some vinegar in here because it is a little bit organy. Just for balance. And I'm also gonna pour in a little bit of wine, our leftover wine. But I mean, all of our sci-fi stories are coming true, right? All of them. All right, what else do I want in here? Do I want anything? Anything to thicken up this broth. Oh, I can drink the milk tea now. That's interesting. I have some soaked cardamom pods, maybe a little bit of a minty lift. Hello, Canada. I'm not staying in great shape. I'm just skinny. I actually lost about 8 pounds of muscle weight since January because I've not had enough energy to work out anymore, and it's really causing me a lot of distress because I basically have no muscle mass anymore. So just because I'm skinny doesn't mean I'm healthy. This is the worst I felt in years physically. I feel no energy most of the day. My body is in pain most of the time. I feel depressed because of that lack of physical energy. So yeah, if you want to catch COVID again and have long COVID symptoms that completely enervate you until you lose all of your muscle mass, that's how you can stay in the wonderful, great shape that I'm in. It's okay. The people can ask what they ask, and I will answer how I answer. What else? Oh, garlic powder, maybe. Some garlic powder, some onion powder. Kitty is doing okay. He's hiding because it's quite hot today. But yeah, he's great. I think we're in love with each other. Honestly, sometimes he'll join me on the bed as I go to sleep, and we almost like kiss each other, and I've never felt so romantic before. He's the best boyfriend ever. Can't complain. This toasted onion is delicious, but because of the high naturally occurring sugars, it gets so clumped in there. But man, the flavor in this is incredible. There's just no additives, so it gets so clumped, especially when it's humid like this in the summer. What kind of vitamins did you figure out you needed? Okay, so I soaked some rice because I was going to make congee for Grandma before I knew that she was going to be sick. So instead of thickener, I think I'm just going to throw in like a little bit of this rice and let it kind of cook down and thicken it naturally. Like a quarter cup of it. I'm truly in my cat lady phase of life, y'all. Like, there's no doubt about it. This is the time where I have decided that men I have dated are not able to accept me in a lot of various different ways. I'm not blaming them for it, but I'm also tired of discovering that after becoming emotionally invested. So I'm gonna add 2 carrots in here, and I am so lazy that we're not using the cutting board. They're the same kind of greens that I cooked on the last live. I think it's like papalo or something. I can't remember the name, but this whole bunch plus the stems you saw me fixing up earlier was only $3. It was like the cheapest possible greens ever at the farmer's market, and it smells so good. Like, I think I gave a tasting note on the last live, but they're just so delicately herby. Like a little cilantro, a little parsley, a little spinachy, a little broccoli rabe, a little minty. That mintiness is like what really adds to something. Like kidneys, I think. It's really gonna help balance out that organy flavor. Methinks. I don't know, but methinks. YOLO. Clearly, it's so out of vogue to give a shit about your life. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I was gonna put cumin in there, but I do not think that's a good idea. What else do I want to put on top of these greens? Let's add some saison. I don't think I've cooked with this very much. But I love the adobo, so I think this would go very nicely with the mole. They've both got some like smoky, peppery, spicy flavors. This has garlic powder, wild achiote, cumin, turmeric, and coriander. And that's it. We have officially said goodbye to the LA mole with this last dish. I love the onion powder too, and if you find out a way to keep it from clumping, I'm sure I would love to know. Some people recommend keeping it in the freezer, but yeah. Am I going to be able to stick all of my compost in this bag? Dating is very interesting. Nobody taught me how to date. Cass Music says, I was basically told if you like them, then ask them out. Does that work? Should I let the slug live? I don't know what to do with him. He's just like a little booger. I'll pick out some of my composty leaves for him, I suppose. Should I release him into the wild? Is he gonna die? I take my compost to a community garden. The city has basically retracted funding from a lot of the sites, and all of the farmers market sites are now no longer taking compost. It's really sad. But they do have $250 million going towards a new police complex. So, hooray. Somewhere where it is shady. IDK, I feel like he's gonna die anyway, but yes, I will do that. he likes to be on the underside of leaves. Okay, I will just keep you in this canopy of leaves, and then I will take you out later. Guys, I need to take a pee break, but I will be back. And once I am back, I have no idea what we're gonna do. But maybe eat something, and then bid you farewell. My friend made a little reading group. He invited like a dozen of us or so. And for tonight, our meeting is going to be concentrating on this article called Contemporary Race Theory and the Problem of History, a Critique. It is Articles Issue 39, Zine Magubane. I have no idea what this zine is, but if you are interested, here's the details. And it's basically critiquing the way how we overlook the mechanisms of capitalism in favor of shifting the lens of critique from a racial standpoint. So like starting from the establishment of like, say, the slavery period in America and how ever since then we've always looked at inequality in our society from a racial point of view. So like just whites want to keep black people in oppression, under oppression, and here are all the ways in which they've enlisted laws and details of, you know, restriction to keep them down, which I found very interesting because I think over the last 3 years I've gone through like several different iterations of trying to understand what are the facets of our world that is causing us the most pain and conflict. And I think when I was still working at Delish, I definitely bought into contemporary race theory way more. And it actually made me like racist in a way, not in terms of like thinking people are better or worse than each other, but in terms of like stereotyping people and their alignment in terms of political solidarity. So I would always assume that minorities, racial minorities, would understand my more kind of like fervent hope for more liberatory practices, but that turned out to not be true because the boss who got very angry at me and decided to report me to HR and eventually got me fired was a black man. So, you know, thinking through like, okay, why do we have this perspective of race is the main issue that is keeping people unequal? Has been a very fascinating journey. I haven't read up on a lot of it before this, but I think I've experienced so many different interpersonal dynamics since then that those IRL experiences have really taught me that what I thought was the answer was actually not the answer. It's not the wrong answer, but it's not the full answer. And so everything that I learn, every single piece of critique that I come into contact with, every single interaction that I get to experience is filling in more of the picture of what the answer might be. I don't know if there is an answer, guys, but it's fascinating to just look beyond. I don't know if there's wet ground right now. It's really hot outside. That's the problem. Yes, Tony. I also hate that they ended all of the compost programs and sites. It's like, for the people who don't know what composting is, it's not a huge deal, but like, when you look at all the environmental issues that we're going through, to deprioritize something that could be helping our wildfire of destruction that is slowly building on all fronts from all industries, perpetuated by the cycle of consumption and profit, like, I don't know, like that was another straw too that added to me understanding where we're at as a society. You know, we don't prioritize any of these things because we don't think it's an issue, at least not relative to how much more profit we could be making if we increase police presence and power. And yes, there are nice cops, okay? There are cops who have helped me. I'm not saying every single person who's a cop is an asshole and irredeemable, you know, piece of shit. But I am saying that we would not need this amount of police force unless there was an ulterior motive for pumping up the police force like this. I'm not pointing fingers at individuals. It's all about looking at it from like a grander scale of what they're playing at. And when you don't value things like funding education and funding environmental protection and funding de-escalation, and you are instead funding things that escalate conflict, there's always good cops and there's always bad cops, but cops are there to do a job. And we are seeing more and more clearly what their job actually is. And just paired with the tides of our politics and how much visible change and unmasking is happening in terms of the political realm, I think if you don't put two and two together by this point, you're not gonna see it until you're underneath the blade. Let's eat an apple and some cheese and some yogurt and this granola. And then I can sit and chat for a little bit and then disappear. How are we doing on battery? 40%. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. So when an apple doesn't have as much taste, which I feel like this one doesn't, I like to skin off the peel and eat the fruit unpeeled, or peeled, I guess. English is weird. And then you have two more standout flavors, one in the peel and one in the fruit, that don't cancel out each other. Oh, YouTube gods are censoring you? Fantastic. Don't worry. I'm getting censored too, left and right. Getting demonetized almost every time. I don't think it matters what I talk about anymore. I think either somebody's reporting me or they're just like flagging all of my uploads. Which I would be surprised if I can still live stream the way I do in 2 years' time if we keep going in the direction we're going in. I think censorship will become more and more of an obvious issue. Until we don't feel it anymore. They're also trying to get rid of the NLRB. So soon we'll have no protections on any front. Especially concerning when it deals with the environment and labor. Because if you take away the environment, then we all die. And if you take away labor, then we have no force under which we can organize to resist against offenses on our standard of living. So all I'm saying is get ready. Like, it's happening. We see it happening. Just get ready. If you can't get ready in terms of building a community and finding organizations to, you know, plan, then at least get ready mentally. My jar broke clean off. I think I should toss this. I don't think this is safe to eat. Sad. Sad but true. Learn my lesson. this live and the last live, somebody commented saying how watching Budget Eats has changed their like entire like food consumption habits. Delightful. At least I had my moment in the spotlight of fame that was useful for people. Thank you for the feedback. I appreciate it. The AI photos and videos are getting wild, y'all. I just saw like an Instagram reel yesterday of a cat eating ramen, like with chopsticks in its paws. And if I didn't know that wasn't impossible, I would have been sold for the most part. At the basis of Budget Eats is like the sort of conservation of ingredients mashed up with wild, boundless creativity, craziness, and also laziness. Because sometimes I'm just like, I can't think too hard about things. Let's just give things a whirl and see how they come out. That's what's the fun part about cooking for me, is just seeing how things come out, which is why I continue to bake without recipes, because if I know that I can follow a recipe and have it come out exactly that way, then I already know what's going to happen. But being alive is about not knowing what's going to happen. I think that's also the saddest part about our current state of the world, is that, like, yes, the optimists will say that we have so much possibilities now, given our increase in technology and advancements and everything else and innovation, but like also it's not really that happy anymore, because we have seen what this technology can do, and it doesn't seem like most of us are using it for great things, even if they started out thinking they're going to use it in great ways, you know? That's the sad part. So it's just like, oh, we know where this is headed because history does repeat itself. Adding a little bit of pumpkin spice to see what it does. Makes me feel like 4 to 6 years older with pumpkin spice in my yogurt and granolas. I have set the Instant Pot to 25 minutes. Okay, I swear this is not an intentional plug, but if you guys like tahini, you might really like trying the burlap and barrel version of it. Which, yes, you would have to spend more money on it.
Oh, here it is.
It doesn't look red because there's nothing artificial in here, but it's salt crystals, black eartha chili, black lime, silk chili, and cobanero chili. So there's 3 chilies plus black lime plus salt in here. It tastes way more almost fresh, I want to say, and it's like bigger granules too. So if you like texture and crunchiness of the salt, you might like it. I grew to like tahini, but I didn't ever love it because Aaron loved it. But I feel like this is a step up from... Tahini is also blowing up. I feel like that brand is getting very popular. And Burl Up and Barrel, from today until the end of July, we're holding a 20% off sale on 12 spices. And then there's also 6 additional spices that we have termed surprise spice or spice surprise. That's priced at $6 a jar, which is essentially almost like 40 to 50% off. But yeah, we're just basically trying to move stock right now. We want to like have more cash flow in to be able to buy more herbs and spices from farmers because new harvests are coming in, and we also need the warehouse space so that new harvests can come in. So we're just trying to move them. So if you wanted to check out some Burl Up and Barrel spices, now is probably a great time because you actually can get some discounts going. But yeah, black lime, chili, salt. Highly recommend for you tahini lovers to try. Celia asks, if you were to choose one great thing to do, what would it be? Do you know someone who did something great? What? I think that all great things were ultimately unplanned. Because I think when you plan to do something great, there's like motivations and intentions behind that kind of undercuts it. I almost feel like there's a sense of ego behind it when you set out with the intention of doing something great. They do ship to Canada, but I think you might get tacked with extra import fees, unfortunately. But I'm not sure. We've gotten some complaints from Canadian customers about like how customs makes it a real pain in the butt to get. Unfortunately. The weather in New York right now is humid and hot. We're reaching 92 with a heat index of over 100. Salt gift box. We have some salts. We don't have that many salts. Any pack of 3 will come in a box. Any pack of 6 will come in a box. Yeah, Sonia, you'll just have to move to the US. JK, don't do that. Bad time to do that. Our spices are good, but I don't know if they're that good. Alright guys, thank you for being with me. And I'm gonna eat some cheese, and I'm gonna go read, and I'm gonna go pet memo and feed memo, and Karen, the discount link in the description is not a discount link. It's a referral link. So if you buy through that link, I get a 10% kickback. You don't get any discounts. It's just a way for them to track where the referrals are coming in from. And it's obviously an incentive for people like me to be like, oh, you get 10% off of everyone's purchases. But that's not a discount link. There are only a few times that Burl Up and Barrel gives discount codes. One is for Spice Clubbers. If you join the Spice Club, every pamphlet comes with a discount code. Sometimes it's free towels, sometimes it's a free jar of spice, sometimes it's free shipping on your next order. But customer service is also really nice because if you are for any reason unsatisfied with your spices or it comes damaged, like They will usually just send you a free replacement. Obviously, don't abuse it, but yeah, customer service always tries to do right by the customer, so that is one of the founding perks of Brow Up and Barrel. They just want everybody to be happy, goddammit. It's really hard in this world. Okay, I guess that's it. I have steeped some bruised mint leaves in water so we can stay hydrated with minty water. I hope you continue to take care of yourselves and mentally grapple with the world that we're in. See ya. Be well.